G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. Today we are going through the round 2 review, talking about the highs and lows. Let's go! G'day and welcome again to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey. You can find me on Twitter at Ball Boys Fantasy, and joined as always by Luke. How are you, mate?
Yeah, mate, I'm good. I'm hot and flustered. I'd like to say that it's because I was at a touch footy comp, but I think it's got more to do with my fantasy team than anything.
So it's been a rough couple of weeks for you. Started off, of course, with the injury to our boy, the ruckman over in North Melbourne, Jerry, and the flow-on effects and the sliding doors moments that's caused you. And
it feels like a domino effect, doesn't it? I'm trying to take the perspective that there's people out there worse off than me, but like you've said before, when you have to front up and sit in front of the camera and pretend you know what you're talking about.
It's a different experience for us this time around.
That's it. I would, I'd completely ignore everything I have to say today. Listen to Mitch Buck, because Mitch has got the credibility for the Ball Boys.
Well, it's all been luck so far. Like I said, I could have been in a very similar situation that you were in, where there was a situation in my round 1 team. I could have had Sherry and Kelly on my side, and I went somewhere else.
Sliding doors,
and obviously the sliding doors moments. But keep it in mind, it's only been 2 rounds. Like, it's the difference between, the top 1,000, top 100 coaches at the moment and top 40,000 coaches is still only 300 to 400 points. And we can make up that kind of a points total in a matter of weeks.
Yep.
Let alone we've got 24 rounds this season. We've got 4 bye rounds. So for all you guys out there, like Luke, stressing out and thinking that your team's gone to shit,
it has gone to shit.
Well, it might have gone to shit now, but plenty of room for you to build that into something nice and be the buttermouse, as the traders would say. But we're going to go through and introduce a new segment for today. Seeing if we can go across the games this round, and we're calling this one. Do you want to introduce the segment, the title name?
We're calling this one Bogs and Flogs.
Yeah.
So for those of you in footy circles, Bogs are best on grounds, and Flogs I think speaks for itself, doesn't it? Really.
That's right. So let's go across.
I was feeling a bit harsh calling them Flogs, but I don't know. Let's let rip.
Sometimes they need a something to light them up the butt and get them going.
And the winner of the Norm Smith Medal. You're an embarrassment to what you do, mate. You're an embarrassment.
These players, the Flogs, they were an embarrassment for us this weekend. But,
another epic sound grab, mate. I really do like that one. I like it.
Yeah, I'll put it together real quick this afternoon.
Don't downplay it, mate. That's good.
Oh, let us know what you think. But we're going to go through each game. So every game.
You've got Bogs this week, hey?
I've got the Bogs. I'm taking the positive. You're gonna let it loose on some of these Flogs.
Mate, it's pent up aggression. I'm ready to go.
I'll start off with Carlton versus Geelong. We did touch on this game. So the best on ground for the fantasy perspective on this game was Oliver Hollins. Cash cow for us. Scored the 77. For some people, it might have been enough to keep a player like Kelly on your ground, loop that score, and you've hopefully got another premium coming back at your side this week. But looks like he's someone that we were a little bit worried about round 1, scored the 44, but looked really impressive round 2, so he's going to be making some cash for us. So Oliver Hollins.
If only I looped him, eh? If only I just stuck to my guns and looped him.
You made some points by not looping him. You traded. You got some more points.
13 points.
Yeah.
No, it's disgusting, mate. Don't try and polish it.
I'm winding you up.
Yeah. No, my flog from this game, and it feels harsh calling him a flog, but I think when you pay for big points and you get what Doc got, a lot of people had the VC.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going a bit harsh here, but I'm thinking flog from this game, Mr. Doc. And I don't think I'll be calling him a flog for long. I think he's
going to bounce back?
I think he's got some good scores in him, for sure. But as far as what we were all expecting this week, he was my flog from that game.
Yeah, I know. After this score, I've had a look at his little price projection and see where he's going to...
He's licking the lips, mate.
Targets the crosshairs over Sam Doherty. Obviously, I didn't start with him, but I'm looking at when I can get him. I do have looked at the fact that he versus St Kilda in round 6, so potentially my first upgrade.
Because defenders are scoring juicily against St Kilda, aren't they?
Yes, so hopefully he can put together some just mediocre scores for me to... selfishly, for his price to continue to come down. But obviously, I do think that he's going to bounce back, obviously, and be better than last week. All right, let's move on to the next game. Brisbane versus Melbourne. The lights out Clayton Oliver.
Mate. Hard to
go past. Number 2 on the Ball Boys Big Boys. And we're going to pump up the Ball Boys Big Boys today because we had a good strike rate again. Just touch wood.
Don't say we, mate. That's on you.
Clayton Oliver, 2 out of 2. He's played well to start the year, and he's the second $1 million man. Actually, now the most expensive player in AFL Fantasy. 140 plus. Went nuts in that time after the lights came back on. And they actually...
got a rest, mate.
Yeah, so he got a big rest and came out guns blazing.
Fags was looking for an inquiry into some 3-minute extra warm-up for Melbourne. Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Ridiculous. Give me a spell.
Come on, Fags. Anyway, but who's the flog for this game?
The flog from this game. I've got 2 flogs from this game.
Oh, double dipping.
I wasn't watching, but I don't know who it was. But whoever fell on Max Gawn's knee or ankle or whatever the hell it is, flog.
Yeah, it's his own teammate, I'm pretty sure. I want to say it might have been Viney.
Mate, I'd be guessing. Second flog, but the Sparkies at the Gabba. Get it sorted, boys.
What are we doing?
We're literally watching an open flame occurring in this light tower.
You were at Suncorp just across the river.
I was. No lights out at Suncorp.
Lights were fine there.
So I don't know. Gabba, get your shit sorted. Flog.
Yeah, flog. Come on. Obviously, the Brisbane Lions had a bit of a scare there when the Melbourne Demons started coming back. They were up 40 points with 12 minutes left. And
did you see somebody looked into it so much that I think as the lights went out, I think Wilmot marked the kick as the light went out. And someone said
+6.
Yeah, I think someone's gone, did that cost me +6? Trying to work it out. So
yeah, true. I think it's also messed up with a few of the time on ground stats as well. Players who were on the bench at the time, lights went out.
40 minutes time on ground.
So their time on ground's down, or I don't know. So
I'm so glad I didn't have Dunkley VC. There were so many people stressed out.
You had him VC, right?
No. Oh, sorry.
C.
Sorry. My apologies. People who went dock into Dunkley. Yeah. So that would have been anxiety-inducing for sure.
For sure. Next one here, Collingwood versus Port Adelaide. I think this is one going to sting you a little bit. But best on ground.
Who?
And 2 weeks in a row, I think, Nick Dacos has been just an absolute legend so far this season. Look, I was nervous coming into the season about his first few matchups, and this Port Adelaide one was one that I had circled that I sort of thought, here's a 70 coming. They talked about tagging him. Port
they tried to start with.
They literally did tag him in the first quarter. Port just hard to score against, the hardest team to score against for defenders anyway.
Yeah.
But he still goes out, beats his score from last week, looks amazing doing it. So easily best on ground, and you were punching the couch while watching this game.
I was PO'd, and for that reason, he's actually my flog as well. Because he wasn't scoring me the points. What a prick.
He's the flog, or are you the flog?
Yeah, it's probably true. if we're really dig deep in it, I'm the flog for not owning him. I said that at the start of the year that he was my first player picked. I didn't pick him, and now I'm suffering the consequences, and I'm still sooking it up. Don't mind you. I'll tell everyone.
I'll hear about it, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I guess I'm the flog there. I'll be the flog.
You kept spouting to me your number one rule this preseason. Well, was it your only rule?
Well, pick players you want to watch.
Yeah.
What the heck am I doing?
You like watching Nick Dacos. Well, you don't now.
And then I tweeted as well. Then I go out and trade Kelly to Green rather than taking Holland's score. Again, taking out a point of difference player that I like to put in a player that I don't like. It's just do not listen to anything I say, please. If turn the video off now. Turn the podcast off.
Hey, no, don't.
Oh, sorry. Just listen to what Mitch.
Just let it play out. Walk out of the room. Keep it playing.
Yeah, just get the views.
Yeah. Hit thumbs up, subscribe, and then walk out. Let it play.
Then do whatever you like after that. Who we got next?
Adelaide versus Richmond.
Easy. You got the easy ones.
Yeah, best on ground again. Number 3, Ball Boys, Big Boys here. So big tick after disappointing the week last week. Rory led 149, I think he had, or something ridiculous. So best on ground. Obviously, Hopefully, a lot of you guys that listen to us didn't trade him.
Yeah,
I know we got tagged in a Twitter post.
I think it was late night rant.
Yeah, late night rants, few
that's
beers.
Excused.
But yeah, hopefully for those of you who listened, we were saying don't trade him out. He's just going to whack another score on your head. Even if you go to someone who played well last week, the difference, you're going to be scrambling again. So he's still $1 million. He didn't actually go down that much in price.
And he's every chance to get his break even this week.
Oh,
as well.
100%. Like, he still might maintain the $1 million for a little bit longer.
He's a crazy player, hey.
Yeah, easy best on ground in that game.
For the flog for this game, there could have been a few people. I'll go on a bit more of a serious note. To be perfectly honest, when I saw it first up, I was very pissed off. But for me, the flog from this game is Nathan Broad and that tackle.
Oh, it was
stupid. I know this is not fantasy related, but I think just on a serious note, that's not the kind of action we want to see. There's been so much publicity about protecting the head, and then to go and make a tackle, you're out of bounds.
He was so close to the line, right? All he has to do was just drag him down.
Exactly. Paddy Parnell, I think it was Paddy Parnell, he's 50 kilos ringing wet. Like, Nathan Broad doesn't have to do anything there, and I thought that was just silly. He's not only, he's not only injured somebody, but then he's also cost his team for, I would like to say 3 weeks, hopefully.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
Has anything more come of that?
Just yet, no, he's been sent to the tribunal, so
okay.
I don't think we're going to be seeing
They're not going to look favourably
Broad for a little while.
So, sorry, Broady, you play for the Tigers, but you're my flog for that one.
Flog, mate. Get your shit together.
So, I feel really harsh. Just for the week, you're a flog.
Back on a lighter note, well, actually, probably not a lighter note. The next game here, the Doggies versus the Saints. I want to give a special shout out to my boy, Jack Steele.
Oh.
Best on ground, 118, broke his bloody collarbone at the 3-quarter time mark. Still managed to come out in that 4th quarter, played it, strapped it up, came out, still got 23 points with a broken collarbone. 118, yes, he's out and he's a trade, but at least he's not a Max Gawn injury on a 4, and he battled his way to a good score, so he's still got lots of price on his head. So as far as injuries go, that's the kind of injury you want for your fantasy side, but he's just a weapon and a warrior. He did a similar thing last year with his AC joint.
Just tough as woodpecker lips, that bloke.
Yeah, so best on ground for me.
Flog, I think this would be just a consensus flog from the Western Bulldogs St Kilda game. Bevo.
Yeah, he's in the soundbite for a reason.
Park up, mate. Just park up.
He's gonna be innovative from now.
No, don't be innovative. Well, I mean, if innovative means playing your players in the best positions,
maybe that's what he thinks innovative is.
Well, then I'm keen to see innovation because
look, he threw in Caleb Daniel into the centre bounces for 13 times. I think Baz Smith had 7, McRae had 8 or 9 or something like that.
It was a wonder Smith turned up. He turned up in the end.
105.
Like
I think he top scored out of all of those guys.
Yeah, I think there were McRae owners, there were Bontempelli owners, there were Bailey Smith owners that were just PO'd about that one. So sorry, Bevo, but you're the flog.
Yeah, I think he is the flog there. So interesting watch on what he's going to do next week.
Yep.
Freo versus North Melbourne.
Yeah, boy.
My boy, LDU.
Getting it done.
Mate, I told you he was the guy that I wanted. I recommended last week if you didn't have he or Tom Green and you had the choice, I was going LDU.
Yep.
He backed it up again this week. He's got the Hawks this week, which he might be getting a tag. But the guy is an absolute jet. He's a gun. I think he's got a perfect 10 coaches' votes in both games he's played so far. He just looks like a really, really good player. And North, look, they're winning games, but I think even if they weren't winning games, he'd be putting up decent scores. So I think he is going to be a keeper for us pretty much the entire season for me. So, LDU, one of my favourite picks in my team so far. Yeah,
it's a good call, Mitch. I had a couple of flogs from this game. I must, I feel sorry for old Roy. He was in a similar situation to me, and he went to Darcy in the ruck department. Right. It's pretty common knowledge now, and so Darcy for me. But I don't know whether it seemed very Justin Longmuir. Yeah. Justin Longmuir. In terms of that role they played him for, they played Jackson on the ball. So there was floggish behaviour all round, and the other person that I was just very PO'd about was our boy Hayden Young. It's yes, he's an elite kick. Yes, he can find the football, but he's
very meekish. He doesn't demand the ball. And just after you finish watching Dacos,
that's it.
Earlier that day, we've been
comparing them all pre-season, and when you're watching Dacos, you feel that guy's trying to get me fantasy points, and you look at Hayden Young and think, I think that guy's trying to screw me.
Absolutely.
Is he running away from the ball again? Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah, so look, it's tough. It's a tough watch. He did get I didn't watch all of this game because it was on the same time as the bloody Bulldogs game, and all my uniques were playing in that game. So, which Hayden Young is a bit of a unique for me as well. But I think apparently he got a really big hit to the ribs or something like that, or I'll have to go back and watch this one. But I know he
had the little injured tag.
Yeah, he had the injured tag on there. I think he was on the bench for a little while, just getting that looked at. So, maybe that affects his performance, and he might have scraped his way to a slightly better score.
Yeah.
But
we'll talk about him a bit more when we talk trades later on.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm personally keen to back him in, but we'll see how it looks moving forward. Next game here on this Sunday now, Sydney versus Hawthorn. Best on ground for me is Will Day. I did not expect him to back up his performance that he did the week 1 against a Sydney team at the SCG. His CBA has actually increased up to close to 60% when they were down at sort of that mid-20s in week 1. He just looks really good. He actually overtook Warple in terms of the CBA numbers there. So just looks like someone who you can absolutely jump on if you haven't already. The defender mid-price a pick. Just looks the goods, even in a struggling side. They got absolutely destroyed in here, and he still manages to hit a 90. So I think he's been a good pick. Yeah,
good call on that one. There wasn't too much floggish behaviour coming out of this game, but Finn Callahan, just stop being a tagger, if that's all right.
Yeah. Finn McGuinness.
My apologies. Finn Callahan's getting the chop too. Out of the Oxons, I tell you what. But Finn McGuinness, stop tagging.
Coming out firing today,
man.
Finn McGuinness, don't go to my boy LDU next week. Go tag Zeeble or something like that. I don't know.
All right. Sheasel. No, don't take Sheasel.
No, we don't want that. Next game here, Essendon versus Gold Coast, and a guy that we will definitely be talking about later in the podcast as well. Best on ground, Will Setterfield.
I've seen Will set and forget a field. I've seen Will set a goat.
Will set a goat.
So people are getting liberal, but
he's been an excellent pick. Someone that I think was a bit of a miss for us. I'll put my hand up. I never really considered him seriously in my preseason side. Obviously, I should have. He's been a ripper pick, and we did talk about him last week. We weren't sure about it. We want to see one more week, and well, bloody hell, he put a 130 on here and attended the highest CBAs in the team in terms of a midfielder. So
we'll talk about him more later, won't we?
He's obviously a gun.
He is
Flog?
Indeed. He is. My flog from that game, again, not too much floggish behaviour, but I think for those people who own Noah Anderson and were really hoping for him to have a big season and to step up, I think, flog might be harsh, but I think he has underperformed.
He's underwhelmed.
And he might be a guy that you could potentially go down from. So
I think he
Noah.
Could be a potential trade. And the last game of the round, struggled to find a best on ground here, honestly. A lot of poor performances. I was tempted to go with the Ruckman, Matty Flynn, but I didn't want to touch on a sore spot for you in your matchup. So I've gone Stephen Cornelio. He had 70 points at halftime. I think he had 50 at quarter time. Only managed the 105, but it's still a decent score. And I think he did what basically you wanted him to do if you have him in there. So he was good enough for this game.
A little bit of floggish behaviour from this game. I was the king of the flogs because I had to watch Green go and do what he did. But Green was floggish, especially for people who might have seen him as an option to go. Yeah, that's floggish.
Floggish. Okay,
well, if you see him as an option to go to from Kelly, and you
when you compare him to the guy who was best on ground the last game, Will Setterfield, who was cheaper.
Oh, and West Coast have typically been a buffet as well. And
people were talking about putting the C on Tom Green in this game.
Some people did.
I never was on board with that.
Some people did. Some people did.
Yeah.
But also, I had Dom Sheed in there as well for a little bit of floggish behaviour.
I think he's up there.
He
with
might
the
be
flogs,
getting the chop.
All right, so that's our bog or flog segment.
Let's play the thing again.
Let's go. Wrap it up with a bit of this.
And the winner of the Norm Smith Medal. You're an embarrassment to what you do, mate. You're an embarrassment.
Just an embarrassment. Okay, so let's move on. We've got a couple of hot topics that we're going to talk about this week, and then later in the podcast, we're going to talk about some failed mid-prices and some successful mid-prices that maybe we haven't talked about too much that we should start to look on to now. But first off, we'll circle back to the Jack Steele injury news. What are we doing with a Jack Steele? Obviously, he's priced at $969,000.
Yep.
You probably picked him as your M1 if he's sitting in your side. So probably a captain option for you. What are you doing in this sort of situation? Like if you had a Steele, what would you be considering with a guy like that?
I think it depends who you don't have, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So if you are currently missing a guy like Setterfield, who's just popping off, then you could potentially go down as a cash grab to then upgrade somewhere else.
Yep.
But if you are really keen to have that M1 captain option, at the moment it's not too much of a stretch to get up to a guy like Laird.
Yeah.
So what's your preference?
31k to get to Laird. Look, it is hot up here in Queensland. I have Steele, or I had Steele, and I will be trading him this week. I'm going to be using this opportunity to go down. I don't have a Will Setterfield, so I think that I'm going to be going that way. We've got a few questions in. We might as well touch on Will Setterfield now.
Break even's so low.
Is it too late? Have we missed the boat on a Will Setterfield at 717k? He's gone up over 100,000 from his starting price. He is still priced at, if I have a look here, he's priced at 83. What do we think he can do? I think I said 85 to 90 last time. I think that's well unders based on what we saw in round 2. I think you said you were keen on 95. I think
in that role,
if he's 95, that's 13 points unders. He's still an excellent buy at this stage. He could even go 95 to 100 based on what we're seeing him do.
Well, you think
so he could be 15, 20 points unders at best case scenario.
And at least, based on his role and his previous 2 scores, you'd think that he's at least going to be making money for you for the next 5 weeks. Like, you'd have to throw in a real couple of
He'll probably make
there,
at least another 100k.
So, and then he can be that...
break-even's 27.
Then he can be that leapfrog to get to the performing premium potentially if he doesn't become a keeper. That role's just so friendly. I think we talked about it off camera, but when you look at the Essendon midfield, you look at guys like Merritt and Parrish, and you kind of have the feeling that their scoring is very much linked to how Essendon are going. But I kind of get the feeling that in that role Setterfield's in, that even if Essendon aren't going as well as they have in the first 2 weeks, I feel like he might be able to keep scoring in that role. You know, at least, like I said, a 95. Yeah, do you see it that way as well?
I see it that way. I see him going at 95 plus from here on out, which gives him definite at least 12 to 13 points of upside, and he probably has the potential to do better. So for me, he's definitely someone that I feel very secure watching him the first couple of weeks. He has had a couple of easier matchups, but I don't think he's someone that, like we talked about, like those fair weather sailors in like a Merritt and a Parrish.
Bang. Mitch is just like a little drive-by there.
He doesn't need the game to be on his terms for him to score well. He tackles so hard. He's someone that gets in there and wins his own ball. Like, you know, he's a guy that doesn't need others to set him up. So I think that he is someone that can score well regardless of the matchup. And like we said, his break-even, for example, is lower than a Finn Callahan. So he's not going to make you money. He's going to score well. And I think that of all the players, early read, and we'll go through this on Friday's podcast, but early read he is my number 1 trade target for a lot of people. It's just about how to get him there. And I'm choosing this injury to Jack Steele to view it as a glass half full, that this is the perfect scenario for me to jump on a guy that I think is as well, not necessarily a must-have, but a very important guy to get into your side in terms of making cash, underpriced player. So that's where I'm going to go. That's going to give me basically 300,000 for me to do an upgrade and do something else within my team. So
sounds like
that's
a good
how
play.
I'm playing it. The next thing I want to touch on, we did mention again in the flog segment, the Bulldogs getting experimental, or what was the word? He's being innovative.
Well, he's going to be innovative.
He's going to be innovative. So a lot of people are asking the question, Jack Macrae, Baz Smith, Bont, do we see comments like this? Do we see the Bulldogs? And you were pretty, strong in your words on them when we watched them, that they were looking very ordinary in their game.
They didn't inspire me in the slightest. Even when they had that run I think it was in the second quarter, they kind of bounced back into the game. You never fully got the impression that they were a proper threat. It just it seemed, we've been using the word a bit, but it seemed a bit meek. Yeah,
it did. Like they didn't step up to the occasion. They sort of let the Saints, who I personally thought that they would be, definitely, I don't know about bottom 4, but sort of that bottom half of the ladder for sure. And they made them look extraordinary.
And the Saints, don't get us wrong, the Saints play great football, and they have for the last 2 weeks, and I think they'll continue to. They look inspired under Ross Lyon, but dare I say it, those Bulldogs midfielders didn't look like they wanted to run both ways.
No, they didn't. So, look, and I think there's 2 ways you can... Well, first of all, if you've got no carnage to look up, you don't have any injuries or anything like that, we're still in those fix-up trades. Is this the type of thing that you see comments like that? You see a score by Macrae, who's over 900k. You're supposed to be able to... Say he's your M1, you want to put a captaincy on him. Are you trading out of a Macrae and going to a Setterfield, or are you going up to one of those other guys that you can rely on a captaincy a bit more? Like, what are your thoughts on players in that kind of situation?
Yeah, of those 3 guys that you mentioned, Macrae would be the first dog that I'd be trading there. But we'd probably say this a little bit. It all depends what else you might have to fix up in this particular predicament. So at the moment, I don't have Macrae, but my priority is probably Sheed and Callahan before it is Bont and Bailey Smith. And there's something dirty about that sideways trade. There's sometimes there are times where you might feel like you need to make it, hop off the underperforming premium and pick a guy who's on the rise. But if you've got sort of nothing else to fix, then that might be a play where you could go like a McRae down to a Setterfield for a cash grab, and then potentially have a look at bolstering somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, he had McRae had 41% CBAs, and
bad,
so it's a very tough one because we say don't trade your premiums unless there's a clear role change. And we sort of said that with Callum Mills, that it was an okay sort of thing, that if it was the best thing for your team and you wanted to make that cash, you could do a Mills down. McRae, the question is this a flash in the pan? Or is this the new trend?
Even his 100 last week didn't look convincing.
No, it didn't. And we were both not super high on McRae in the preseason. Like we weren't really too keen on him and didn't think he had the upside that maybe some others thought that he did.
The thing with Baz and Bont over McRae Mitch as well is if they're not in those CBA role, you get the feeling Baz is going to keep hunting the footy.
Yeah.
Bont could go and kick 3 in quick succession, whereas with McRae you just feel like if he's not there, then he's not there.
Yeah, so I'm definitely, at least in my team, I mean, I have a steal to deal with as well, but I'm keeping Baz, I'm keeping Bont. They're both maybe underwhelming, but they haven't been far off what we paid for them so far.
Yeah.
And I think the glass half full approach here is that the Dogs have looked shit in both games, and they're still scoring 90s, low hundreds
it is
at
a
this
good point.
stage. So if the Dogs if the Dogs, I've got the best song
the
stuck
Bogs
in my
and
head.
Vlogs.
If the Dogs can get their shit together and actually start looking like the Bulldogs we've seen in the last couple of seasons, then that ceiling is still in there with these guys. McRae, I'm the most concerned about and sketchy on because I wasn't keen on him in the first place. And that change in his role is quite concerning. I still think I agree with you that he's probably lower in the priority for most teams out there. Like you said, if you have a Sheed or a Callahan or some of these failed mid prices, I'd be dealing with those first.
Yeah. Especially while Setterfield's still there to be grabbed.
That's right. Yeah. Like I'd almost rather be going from like a Sheed up or something like that, if that's possible, than a McRae down, just because I think that, to a lesser extent, the same logic applies to like a Rory Laird, to a McRae. He's a premium. Like he's done 116s in the past.
Yeah, you prefer him than Sheed still.
You would.
So in that context,
exactly. Yeah, and I think that's kind of just the way that I like to play. It is tough though. Like if he was going to be 42% CBAs for the rest of the season, then absolutely you trade him. Like if you think that's going to continue, then definitely trade him. I'm a bit skeptical if that will happen. I think Bever was just throwing the baby out with the bathwater sort of thing and just trying anything because they were looking pretty trash. The other thing that is, the X Factor, Treloar, where does he fit into this if he comes back this week? There are a lot of things happening at the Dogs, so I'll have a think about it and maybe they play Thursday actually, so we won't even get to talk about this on Friday, so maybe I'll do some tweeting later on. But I think he's a bit lower in my priority list for now.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see the merit in trading him if you think the role is going to be staying the same. But let's talk about some of these mid prices. So
let's do it.
Some of these mid prices that I think need fixing up, and I'm going to start with I guess I'll say our boy in the preseason. I was pretty keen on him. Fortunately for me, I got off him last week. Ended up working out pretty well. But Dom Sheed, he has not performed the way we wanted him to so far this season. First couple of games, he has the role. The CBAs have been there, but first couple of games, 79, 72. I think, just straight off the bat, I think you've got to get off of Dom Sheed. As good as his role is, the cash is not there, and there's other guys around him. You've got to move quickly in this game, so I'd be trying to jump off.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts?
I agree with that. Last week I sat here and said, hey, I think he'll be all right. He was around the footy and he had a couple of things not go his way. And that was true at that point. But when you see it 2 weeks in a row and like you said, the cash generation's halted and you've got better options, you got to pull the trigger. So, in the interest of being brief, that would be my call there as well.
I think he's one of the guys. I think he's still in a lot of sides, but where do you think people should be going? So he's in 14% of sides at the moment, so still quite popular out there. Like, are we trying to get up to Setterfield? It costs you about 100k.
If you can get to Setterfield. The other option there with a bit of DPP, I think, is Zeeble, potentially.
Zeeble. Yeah. Most people should be able to do that, like swing a forward into your midfield.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you should have something going in that regard. And that
Zeeble will cost you about 22k to get there. So it still costs you a little bit to get there.
Yeah, and that can be preempting some fancy footwork later on with the the almost guarantee, I think, that Zeeble will get defender status.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of looking at your team and you're thinking, hey, I can fill some future holes by getting a bit fancy now, I don't think Zeeble's the worst trade. Setterfield, for me, would be the priority. I feel like that role is just so solid and the break-even's so low, but there's another option there in Zeeble if people want to look elsewhere.
Yep. A couple of forward options that I think are pretty clearly failed mid-prices. Tanner Bruhn, I'm going to go out and say that Jason Horne-Francis is a failed, even though he had a good round one, the 42 that he gave us last round, I think is perfectly indicative of what we can expect from him. He's going to have some good games. He's going to have some really poor games. So
he's essentially still a rookie as well.
Yeah, if you jumped on him last week and you copped this 42, I'm sorry. Like that's bad luck. Well, not bad luck, but it's sort of. It's unfortunate that it hit you right in the face the first game you traded him in, but I wouldn't be waiting around to try and hope that he gets better. I'd be trading him out again. And Ben Cunnington, I think, is also someone who was in a few sides there. So Bruhn, Jason Horne-Francis, Ben Cunnington. If you can get to Zeeble, or if you can use a bit of DPP action to get to a Warple type in the midfield, I think that those guys are pretty clear-cut failed mid-prices. Jai Newcomb. He's not necessarily a mid-pricer, maybe an underperforming premium, but a few people have been on him as sort of that guy in that Tom Green, Caleb Sarong type price range. He's the guy that hasn't really popped off. So, scored 99 in the last game, but I think that, again, when you're comparing him to other options in his line, he's a guy that I'd be wanting to kind of jump ship.
Yeah, he's the perfect one you could jump off of, and you'll make a little bit of cash going down to Setterfield there, as would have thought as well.
Yeah, yes, you're still making money going to Setterfield, so I think that's an easy swap. You're making about 40k dropping down there, so I'd definitely be ticking that off. And I want to get your thoughts on this guy here, because he's not necessarily been a failed pick so far, but what are we doing with Andy McGrath? I was watching this game. He was lights out in the first quarter. Scored 38.
He was, yeah.
And then I think he had 6 in the second quarter. I think he had a poor score in the third and then went big in the last quarter again. So
yeah, there's a few mouths to feed back there, and it seemed like they were being fed at different stages of the game. Because I think, am I right in saying Redmond went quite well in this game as well, and he was sort of playing
Ridley was poor after having a good first week as well.
Yeah, so you could get some fluctuations with those Bomber backmen.
I think so too.
Potentially.
They do have St Kilda, though, this week. So that was the thing that I wanted to highlight. So I think I would hold an Andy McGrath. I would just temper expectations that he's probably not... He's going to be one of those tough guys that potentially is not bad enough to trade, but not good enough that you're going to want to keep. And these guys are always quite tricky. So I'd give him one more week against the Saints. And then after that, I'd probably be, if I could... last week of fix-up trades before sort of you're starting to look at upgrades. I'd be, trying to maybe have a look at some of those maybe cheaper mid-prices, or see if you can get him up to, a Dacos or something like that. But I think he is someone that, if we leave him too late, he's just going to burn a hole in your pocket and I think not doing what you're hoping to.
If you're living in luxury land and you've got absolutely nothing else to do, then it could be potential to have a look at doing something different there. But we will move on. What do we got?
Let's talk about some mid-prices that we want to maybe trade in. And I want to get your thoughts on this player here, he's currently sitting in my side after my Monday morning trades. Liam Stocker.
The Stalker.
Stocker, yeah.
That's the way I said it sounded like Stalker, didn't it?
Stalker.
The Stalker.
The Stocker, the Wall Street Stocker here.
Liam
Wall Street.
Not signing that off. Liam Wall Street.
Okay, but Liam Stocker plays for the Saints.
The Wolf.
The Wolf. Oh, the Wolf of Wall Street. Here we go. All right.
Okay. We're workshopping live.
All right,
Good.
The Wolf, Liam Stocker here. 512k, has had 2 games. First game went 81. Last game went 98 against the Dogs. He's had about 1 or 2 kick-ins in each of those games. Just looks like he's got a nice half-back role. Am I crazy in thinking about bringing a player like this, 512k? His break-even is 18, so he's going to make you money.
Yeah.
I think that Liam Stocker is a decent option, especially if you're in the situation where you're going a big dog down to a Setterfield. You've got 300k to whack on top of a rookie. If you can get a rookie off the ground and put a Stocker in at sort of D4, move some of those guys, so Jimby's now at D6. That's what I'm looking to do with that kind of a move. I just foresee an issue with the defensive rookies in terms of their job securities. Campbell Chester might not be there. Lockie Cowan might not be there. I don't know if we want to rely on Darcy Wilmot to score like he did on the weekend and get his 58. That's kind of the option that I see Liam Stocker fulfilling.
Okay.
I'd probably still rather, if I had the cash, go up to Will Day. But what are your thoughts on a Liam Stocker as a bit of a left field pick? He's only in 1% of sides at the moment, so
it would be very left field. It is risky. Yeah, don't ask me because I don't know my ass from her elbow. I've proven that over 2 weeks. But I do like your justification in terms of bolstering your backline from those defensive rookies a little bit. I think there's certainly a play. I right now I'm not trying to swing for the fences, even though maybe I should be. My mentality is I'm just going to try and grind my way back in with some good captain choices and stuff like that.
The straight back plays at the moment are usually pretty...
Yeah, for me, I think that I'm going to be more of a straight back guy. I've got to hike the comeback trail, and I don't think trying to hit the ball out of the park is the way to go about that. So I'm going to be trying to be pretty vanilla for the next little bit, and then just maybe make some good captaincy choices. But do you think it's one that you can have one more week of a look, or do you think it's gone by then?
What's he priced at? Let me have a look at what he's priced at the moment.
Like 512K
he's
or something.
Priced at 59, so about 60. Okay. I think he's probably going to be someone that goes 75 to 80. So, look, it is probably this week or not. Okay. Because I think after that it starts to get like he's going to go probably up maybe up another 40K, which, makes him priced into that mid-60s zone, and then you're probably only going to get 10 to 15 points of value. And when he's not a keeper, that kind of value is probably not enough.
Yeah.
The reason that I think he is appealing to me is because he falls into that price range where I can, with a little bit of a restructure, get a rookie off my ground up to him.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, like if you're just going to go another mid-pricer sideways to him, I like it a little bit less.
Yes.
I'd rather those guys like a Will Day, even a Constable is probably going to be scoring just as good as him, but at a cheaper price point. I think those guys are probably more where I'd be going. So I like him more so just as a rookie upgrade than anything else, I think is what I want to get across.
All right. Yeah. For what it's worth, you have my tick of approval.
All right, let's go. This one you might have a little bit more insight in. Daniel Rioli, the Tiger boy, he's had a couple of good games and he's looked really comfortable in his role. And a few people have been throwing his name out there. I know a good friend of the show, Mini Monk, is keen on Daniel Rioli. But what do we think about his role in the Tigers? Like, would you say he's our designated? Like, is he the Jaden Short this year for us?
Well, they want to get the ball in his hands. There's no doubt about that. He's an elite kick, and then he provides that run and bounce off halfback as well. I've always sort of seen Rioli as being like a better AFL player than fantasy player potentially, and Richmond's team system very much it's not like what Dacos does at Collingwood. It's not like we're looking where's Rioli. If he's there, he'll get it, and if he's in the right spots, and recently he has been putting himself in the right spots. I personally just don't have the luxury to do something like that, and I think. To be perfectly honest, I think most people out there wouldn't have the luxury. But it's another speculative pick that if it comes off, then you look like an absolute genius.
I think he's good, and I think that he probably is, of all the defenders in our team being Richmond Tigers, like Jaden Short, I think we're not going to see the Jaden Short that we expected to see to start the season because I think Rioli has supplanted him in that kind of a role.
Yeah.
He probably is the closest thing to like that Basher Hooley type role, but I don't see that ceiling of that 100 plus averaging player that Hooley was, just because there are a few more guys that could do that. Sometimes Bakes plays that role. Sometimes Short is there.
Bakes score well on the weekend too.
Lostone, I don't see him as like head and shoulders ahead of a lot of those guys.
Yeah, they're all kind of much of a muchness.
Yeah, and because he's such a good player, he could even be susceptible to a bit of a tag. And I think he is the kind of player that could actually be tagged out of a game like pretty easily. So I think that a Rioli. He's priced at 85 is the other thing. He's not super cheap. So you're kind of wanting him to go 90, 95, even, to be around that kind of, Dacos, Hayden Young kind of level. And I just don't see that kind of upside for him. He maybe is a few points unders, high 80s, at best a 90 kind of a player. But
it'd come out of left field.
I think you're probably better off looking elsewhere at someone.
Yeah. How many Richmond players average a ton?
Exactly. Well, 0 last year. So we've got
one
this year, Timmy T. And
I think you probably have your answer, don't you?
Yeah. So I as much as I respect the boldness of the pick, I don't think I'd be going there. Matty Rowell, I want to highlight. No? I think he looks good.
Yeah, but we've said that before.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, what do you see him as being? You obviously he's not a top in his line. So what do you see him as being? Do you see him being enough value? to go there?
Let's have a look. So the only issue with Matty Rowell is that he's the exact same price as Will Setterfield, and if you're going someone, you're going Will Setterfield.
Exactly, and if you already have Setterfield, you probably don't need to be speculating on Rowell because you're probably sitting pretty.
Potentially, but he scored 109, he scored 95. He's had 6 marks so far in 2 games. He's playing high time on ground, high CBAs.
How many marks did Tom Green have in the first round?
What did he have in the last game? I actually didn't check that.
He had some marks, but he scored.
I'm just
90.
saying, from the eye test, Matt Rowell looks closer to that guy that we saw in the first 5 games of his career than he has in the last couple of seasons. I think he is someone that...
Well, convince everyone to get on him, because that might help us.
I don't think you should get on him, but I'm just saying that, he is someone that maybe...
People trust what you say now. You've got to be real careful.
Yeah, I know. But, he is someone that, if you took a punt, I know our friend of the show, Dossie, jumped on him this week. I don't think it's a completely crazy Dossie move. I think there's some merit to it. He does look good.
Dossie's team is so spicy, hey?
It is
I mean, it's shitting all over my team, so...
So he's priced same as Setterfield. So what was that? An 83 average. Look, he might be able to push 90, mid-90s, I think is optimistic. But I think you're asking a lot there. So
give me these left field ones.
Yeah, just hold on.
In no position, mate.
You guys here. All right, well,
I might just join Mitchman as an assistant coach.
No.
Might park the Oxons. Sorry, boys, hit the showers early. I'm assistant coach over at Mitchman now.
Mate, don't give up. Be the buttermouse. How about, okay, here's one. Jack Siebel. What are your thoughts about Jack Siebel? Can I sell you on Jack Siebel?
Well, more likely, I think, than anyone else you've tried to sell me on. I think that Setterfield's the main trade target, but there is something that appeals to me about the thought of Siebel then going back. And the way he's playing, he could quite easily be a top 6 defender if he keeps getting that role and he's looking solid. And I mean, North Melbourne are playing well while he's in that role. That's always a positive thing for us. So I think that if I didn't have to make the probable Setterfield trade this week, then I think it would be an avenue that I'd very much be looking at for people who maybe already have Setterfield. Yeah, if I was to rank the two, I'd probably go in terms of mid prices to get in. I'd go Setterfield over Siebel just because I worry about his age 32. My drink out of your cup then.
Yeah, well don't. Keep your lips off my cup here. But the 32 over 30 rule. You know that's a no-go for me and Mitchman.
That's a hard pass.
But and the injuries he's had in the past, there's a little bit of concern about Aaron Hall, although I don't think that he's going to be, while they're winning.
He's the injury master.
I don't think he's coming into this side. I think, Sheasel and Siebel are going to be the bulls at the back then. I think that they're going to be doing their thing. Yeah. I just worry that there's something about it that feels unsustainable to me, at least to this level. He's gone back-to-back 109s. What do we actually expect him to average? I find it hard to put a projection to Siebel's name. Yeah,
it's interesting because that role seems friendly for that team, doesn't it? Sheasel's averaging, what,
120,
so we didn't expect that either. So there's obviously something very friendly about that role, and it's not like they've...
Can he go 90? Could he go 90? Because then he's a great pick.
Yeah, I think he could go 90. And he's obviously being on that line is friendly for him in terms of what that average is. So
that's close to a top 6 in either defence or forwards.
The thing with North Melbourne too is they've started 2-0, which is all very exciting. They're not going to win every week.
Yeah.
So
they've got Hawthorn this week.
Yeah, well, maybe they are going to win every week. No, but... at some point, that they'll be restricted in some way. Yeah. You get a new coach, you're full of energy, and then, typically you might have a bit of a lull there at some point. But I still think he could be a good pick. So it'd be something I'd be looking at quite closely. But again, don't listen to me.
No, we listened to you. You got some good takes, mate.
How fake was that? No. Say it like you mean it, you prick.
Jack Siebel, I think there's something that makes me hesitate with him. And look, maybe it's my ageist... I don't like the old guys.
Don't be old around me.
But particularly around these, look, they've had a great start. They're 2-0, but I don't expect them to make the 8 this year.
Yep.
They'll be better than they were last year, but I think at some point they're going to put more of an onus on developing the younger kids. And Siebel is obviously not part of their future. He's a great leader and a great mentor, and even Sheasel's talked about him telling him where to go in the defensive line, which is great. But in terms
of his... Maybe Siebel should just start going there. Cause
well, it looks like he has with 109 in 2 games. But
it's not 120.
I think there's just some part of me that thinks that there will be a bit of a drop-off coming. So look, he's coming into my Supercoach team because his price hasn't moved, but he is now up again, another 100K from his starting price. So the risk is higher than it was a couple of weeks ago. So for me, I'd prioritise some of those other guys ahead of him. But still, if you already have a Setterfield, for example, then Zeeble could definitely be a good trade. What about some guys in the defence here? Connor McKenna, the Irishman. He looks solid. What's his price tag at? I think it's a 4.15. He's averaging 64 points per game.
Okay.
He's just kind of ticking along there. He's probably... He looks good.
Do you see him as that potential play to just get some better job security if you've got some rookies there? You're a bit
so it's kind of like that Setterfield. Sorry, not Setterfield. The
Stocker.
The Wolf. The Wolf. It's kind of like the Wolf play, but he's 100K cheaper.
Stockman.
I don't think the ceiling is quite there, but he could be someone that if Carnage hits us in the defensive line this week, that... Look, he's doing enough. I think he's pretty safe in that side. He's looked really good for the Brisbane Lions. That he should be at least be able to.
Did you call him the Irishman before? The Irishman.
The Irishman. He's Irish.
You poo-pooed the commentators for doing that every time.
Yeah, I know.
And then
I
you
fell
just
into
went and did it.
God damn it!
You're just poo-pooing the commentators. Every time this guy comes on the screen, they call him the Irishman.
They do. I know. I'm my own worst enemy.
You put a headset on, and it's like suddenly you got to call him the Irishman.
You go to all those traits and those. Actually, I'm kicking myself for doing that because that's everything I hate about the commentary.
I don't know why that came back in my head. That happened like 5 minutes ago, and it's like, hang on, I gotta get him about
Hold on. Yeah, okay, no, you're right. Bloody hell, Mitch, be better. All right, but yeah, I think he's an okay option without being outstanding, if that makes sense. He's kind of only the option, I think, if there is carnage that really hits us and say, your way to get Setterfield gives you a little bit of that cash and you kind of mucking around with something to do with it. Maybe getting someone like a Cowan or a Chesser up to him isn't the worst thing in the world if it moves a rookie off your ground just for that security, but I don't think he's going to be a season-winning pick by any stretch of the imagination. Going to finish off with a couple of more defenders here.
Going to skip over Darcy Cameraman there?
Yeah, I'll skip over Darcy Cameraman.
You got to stop spelling it like that. Every time I look at it, I read it like Cameraman.
Oh, well, yeah, sorry, my bad. I'll do this quick, man. I'm all about efficiency. Jack Bowes played his first game for Geelong.
Yep.
Did okay. I think he had a couple of big quarters and then went quiet as well in patches as well. But he was a guy that we were looking at in the preseason. What are your thoughts on his? He scored a 77 in his first game, priced at 611K. So same sort of price tag that we were looking at for someone like an Elliot Yeo. So priced in that mid-60s kind of a zone. What are your thoughts about a Jack Bowes after he's played his first game there? I'm personally less enthusiastic.
Yeah, I just... There's so many different priorities, I think, this week that he's down the list for me. That's just my thing. I think there's... If people are going, I can only get Jack Bowes, then I think, well, look harder. There's probably other things that you can do.
I'd rather leave stock up, personally, for 100K cheaper. Or if you're shopping around that price tag, Will Day, if you don't have him, I think is the guy.
You never know what Geelong are going to get up to down there at the Cattery as well. They mix things up as well. So,
Hunter Clark is someone I want to also mention. I was keen on him in the preseason.
More than the Wolf. You just tell me the Wolf's taking his role. Or Hunter's in the middle now.
Hunter Clark's in the middle. So, obviously, with Steele now missing a bit of time, is Hunter Clark potentially a sneaky grab? The thing that's held him back so far, low time on ground. So, first game, 59%.
Oh, my goodness.
Scored 62. Second game, 69%.
Poor
scored
bloke.
a 91. So, even if he just gets even
if he just
mid-70s. Mid-70s.
59%? Don't bother showing up, Hunter.
Yeah, I know, right? But, last game against the Dogs...
Call them Splinters.
91.
New nickname, Splinters.
Splinters.
Have you heard that one
to me? No.
Well, in the olden days, the bench was made of wood. So if you spent a lot of time...
He's riding the pine. Okay, I get it.
He's riding the pine.
So 69% for a 91 with Jack Steele out of that side. He looks like he might be that second guy next to Crouch. I'm not doing it.
You said it with such confidence. You're going to confuse people out there.
Well, I'm not doing it. I think it's potentially up play.
Okay.
I'd want to see another week of it. I think that his break even is 64. So even if he comes out and smashes it, he's not going to completely get away from you.
Well, this could be an early spicy take with Steele out. If he comes out and gets 80% time on ground and then he pops out a 110,
could potentially be like that little bit of a stopgap kind of a play in there.
Yeah.
Look, he's 24 years old. He's right in that age bracket that he could take that next step. We've talked about him for a few seasons now as being a potential breakout candidate. I think what I'm watching for in that next game, number one is CBAs, but number two also is that time on ground. Like, he needs to be closer to the 80% time on ground with a steal going out for me to be considering him and marrying that up with some decent scores. But if you want to be bold, and if you're clued in on the Saints and you've got some inside word there, then I think it might be a risk that could pay off. But for me at this stage, I'm still a little bit more risk adverse with a play like that. So I'm watching him for next week, is what I say.
Hold my side together with sticky tape at the moment, let alone thinking about bringing it
up to Clark. Don't be getting Hunter Clark. Yeah, you don't want to add that to the mix. So
that's our mid-prices.
So that's the mid-prices. So let us know what you guys have, any thoughts on any mid-prices that you're considering down in the comments. We will be going through our trade targets on Friday afternoon, so make sure you guys do check that one out. I had a few people message me and say, hey, why don't you guys do that on a Thursday? We would love to, but just schedules and things like that won't allow us to do that, and we'll be doing it after the first game. So we'll talk about the Doggies and the Lions game as well, and also we'll have the teams announced. So we'll have a lot more information to talk about. So Friday afternoon, come get your captains, come get your trade targets as well.
Any questions over on Twitter that we could quickly go through?
Yeah, what have you got for me? I know you tweeted out something there.
Yeah. So somebody looking for a defender under 800k with Day already in the team, maybe the Wolf.
I reckon the Wolf might be a play. Liam Stocker. I think of all of the cheap defenders, he is the one that I like the most. Even if he flops, break-even of 18. Like, his break-even is lower than Cowan. His break-even is lower than a Chester. So he's going to be making more money than them in the next few weeks. So you can always fall back on that. He's had a good run. He looks like he's got a decent role. So
how about Sheed and Baz to Dacos and Setterfield? Is it too sideways, says Aaron.
Sheed and Baz to Dacos and Setterfield. Well, we haven't talked about Dacos too much, so I know you're keen.
There's a reason why we haven't talked about it.
to jump on him. Well, I do think this is a bit sideways.
Yeah, I agree with that. So you're going to say, because I talked to you on Sunday, I said I need to trade Hayden Young for Nick Dacos, and it's got nothing to do with fantasy. It's got to do with my mental health. I need to get off the ledge. And the way I feel like I can get off the ledge is going from Young to Dacos. But then the maybe more pragmatic version of me thinks that the better trade is just to go just for the cash, and for the low break-evens is to go Sheed and Callahan down to Chandler and Setterfield.
Let me put it this way. If you've got off to a rocky start, and even if you haven't really, like, this part of the season is all about making cash. And as good as Dacos has looked, he has made a bit of cash for us so far. But he's now his price up. He's getting up. He's over 800k now. He's priced at 95. Okay, and at the start of the season, we sort of said he's a 95 to 100. I think it's probably close to 100 now. So he is under.
Somebody predicted he'd go 100 plus.
I think someone said that maybe first episode.
Yeah. Someone that foolishly didn't start with him. So what a flog.
Mate, if you thought he was going 100, you should have picked him.
I should have locked him.
But yeah, I think, look, at max, he's probably got 5 points of upside.
Yeah.
I think at this point of the season, we want to look for more than that, and we want to play the long game. Like, it's going to be a long season. I know those prices are juicy. They look nice in your team. They make you feel better going into the weekend. But I think if your goal is to get as high ranked as possible, you're trying to make as much cash as you can.
Yeah.
So I think instead of... Now, you want to get rid of Sheed because he's doing that a little bit, but not compared to other players. I think I'd find another way to get Sheed to a different type of player that's going to make you more cash. I'd be trying to hold Baz if you can. Worst case scenario, Bevo does Bevo things, and Baz Smith is a forward for us come round 6.
Yeah.
And you can swim forward, and...
Not much space down there.
Not much space down there, but...
Leave a spot available.
Best case scenario, he gets back in there and plays 60% CBAs, and he... does what we expect him to do and is close to that 110 kind of a player.
Yeah.
Look, he hasn't been the pick that I'd hoped he would have been so far, but like we said, they're struggling and he's still averaging over 100.
Someone said Matt Flynn with the little monocle looking closely, but that matchup is foolish. I'll talk quickly. In the Content Creators Cup, which shouted out last episode, I'm versing Zave
Sucked
Ellis.
in Bales.
I'm versing Zave and... Yeah, got that little drive-by. Mitch is on the drive-bys today.
No, it was a close one. It was a tight one, but...
And I literally had... It basically came down to Flynn outscored Green.
You went nuts as well, didn't he? 110, didn't he score?
Yeah, and I think I lost by 3.
Oh, Yeah, you wouldn't predict that. So
that's
that's the Eagles matchup right there.
It is.
That's
I
all Eagles.
don't think people should be looking too closely at that. And maybe we can do one more. We've got somebody said, are people sleeping on Darcy Cameron, Matt Rowell, and Nank Curvis? We kind of talked about Rowell. What about Darcy Cameron and Nank?
Nank, I don't trust Nank. I don't think that he's the kind of guy. What did he have last game actually?
He still
got
scored
109. How did he do that? Was it his big tackles again?
Yeah, it's just it would be strange for us to see a marked change in average with nothing else really changing.
That's right.
What other narrative can you sell yourself on? It's like, it's not like, wow, he's in a new role. Wow, he's this. It's just he's just Nank from last year, and
he's having a good run of form.
I think he's had a good run, and in terms of what I think most people are looking to do with the rucks now is just get to a point where they can, forget what's happening in the rucks.
So I mean, he's priced in the low 90s now. I don't think he's of huge value.
No.
I'd be passing on Nank. Darcy Cameron is potentially someone a little bit more worthy of a discussion.
He definitely looked good there to start that. I mean, he looked good all game, to be honest. The big flag we were always talking about was Mason Cox, but Cameron's getting the Lions share there. It's whether he can still average, close to triple figures with the Lions share. I'm not sure.
The good news is that he's got the DPP, which I think is maybe a little bit underrated. He's priced in mid-80s, 80, so 733,000. Had a big round 2. Looks like he's definitely probably more that like 66% CBA to Cox's 33%. And he's just a really good player. Collingwood look amazing. That can be viewed as a positive or a negative. So Collingwood are right now they're the cream of the crop at the moment. 2 rounds into the AFL. So most often we see players or teams do this. There's only really one way to go, and it's either sideways or it's down. Like, I don't think they're going to improve on that. And are you going to do that every week? He had a good matchup against Lysette. So I want to see another week of it. But, you could even pick him as an underpriced forward. So I think that there's more merit in a Darcy Cameron pick just because of the flexibility that even if when it comes time to you getting an English, you flick him forward and he's an F6 for you. Look, he could still come out and average 95 and price at 85, 10 points of upside. That's a worthy pick at this stage of the year. But for me, I'm wanting to see at least one more round of data. He's come up agained Big Nank this week, so it's going to be a bit more physical.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Both just discussed as well. So
So what are we'll wrap it up with your early trades and things that you're thinking about doing this week.
Yeah, at the moment it's probably just Sheed and Callahan. And then Chandler just to try and make whatever's left of the increase.
Well, actually, let's talk about that real quick. Is it too late to get Chandler? You're looking at getting him in. I think it's still a play.
I think it's still a play. He's gonna, if he maintains his job security, he's gonna continue to go up for
negative 21 break even
the next 5 weeks. So I don't want to get to that point where I keep being stubborn and think, he's not priced at what he was, and
you think, I could have got him 60k cheaper last week.
Next week, I'll be thinking, bugger, I should have done it that week. So I think at this stage, barring calamity, I think it's probably going to be Sheed and Callahan.
So say for example, if Kay Chandler averages 60 over the next 3 weeks, he will still make another $130,000. So
and that's not chump change.
So. Yeah, that's not chump change. So you can definitely use that. I don't think it's too late. If that's a downgrade that allows you to go Sheed up, those are 2 cash making moves.
Yep.
I don't think you're missing out too much.
No, the fact Callahan hasn't looked red hot. I mean,
I think green tick to trade him out. Like wing roll looks.
It means Hollands comes onto my field, but then I've got Setterfield on the field as well.
I don't think you're losing too much.
I agree.
In terms of net points lost. So I like it. Tick it off.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Missing out on Dacos for another week.
Well, look, you're gonna have to just watch me closely.
Yeah,
maybe just ask me a couple of times. Are you okay over the weekend?
Okay, I'll check in with you, mate.
Yeah, appreciate that.
And they're versing Richmond too, so hopefully we just run over the top of them. Not looking good the way we looked on the weekend.
Could be a bloodbath.
We'll see how we go. But my trades at this stage on a Monday afternoon is I am going Jack Steele down to a Will Setterfield. And then that is giving me the cash to then go either a Campbell Chesser or a Lockie Cowan up to a Liam Stocker. So, taking a rookie off my ground. It does leave me a little bit short on captains, which... look, I'm not too confident in a Bailey Smith and a Bontempelli at the moment. So, and both of them versus Josh Duncan in the first game. So there's 3 of my captain choices in that one game.
VC, mate, and then bring it home with Timmy T again, or
we'll
have to wait to see what the Ball Boys big boys says.
against the Hawks. We'll have to have a look and see. So I'm a little bit nervous about my captain choices with that kind of move. Steele obviously out, but I think at this stage of the season, I don't want to go up to one of those big dogs. Okay. I want to hit the Setterfield, which I think is probably more of a priority for me. So let us know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below on YouTube, what you guys are thinking for round number 3.
Something else to mention as well, I just thought of it as well. Mitch mentioned previously when we do our second show, whether it's a Thursday or Friday, it probably has to be a Friday, but something that we've talked about potentially doing is maybe doing a live show potentially on that Friday kind of
afternoon. If we can sort this technology out.
Yeah, we're trying to get fancy with the technology, but if we could do a live show and people could comment in and talk to us live and interact, that'd be really cool. So if that's something that you'd be keen on, that you could work into your Friday Arvo, just let us know in the comments, and that'll kind of maybe affirm that that's where we should go with it. But
let us know if that'd be something you're interested in seeing. But in the meantime, guys, give this video a big thumbs up over on YouTube. Make sure you follow along on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next time. Laters.